What actually protects a folding hinge, and what just looks like it does? 22 Fold 8 Ultra accessories claim to, but most fail the same way in the first month. We're not ranking these by price. We're ranking by whether they actually survive daily use with the device you'll be holding starting August 7th. Screen protector clearance, magnet strength, and whether the listing is even built for this phone at all. I'll show you why the last pick beat everything on this list, but first, the ones you need to know about before you click buy. At 22, the Ringke Fusion Clear Case. It's a hybrid build, hard polycarbonate back with a flexible TPU bumper frame, and it's designed for magnetic charging with a low-profile open hinge that keeps the fold's original form instead of adding a bulky spine. The strap holes let you attach a wrist tether if you're nervous about drops. The catch? It's a clear case, and Ringke hasn't published any anti-yellowing treatment for this specific model, so expect the usual PC back yellowing under UV within a few months of daily pocket use. That's not a flaw unique to Ringke. It's just physics catching up with any untreated polycarbonate blend once it starts absorbing sunlight through a car window or a walk to lunch. Fine as a see-through starter case, not something you keep for 2 years, and honestly, not the case you want to be the last line of defense on a phone this expensive. At 21, the Milomdoi 9-in-1 Screen Protector Kit. You get 3 inner TPU films, 3 front tempered glass pieces, and 3 camera lens covers, plus an installation frame for each layer. Good value if you're the type who cracks a protector every few weeks and wants backups on hand instead of reordering every time. The catch is real. This exact listing is shared between the Fold 8 Ultra and the older Fold 7. Shared SKUs on a folding cover screen are exactly where a millimeter of misalignment causes bubbling or lifting right at the crease, since the cutout tolerances around the hinge and camera housing rarely carry over cleanly between 2 different chassis. Worth grabbing for the spares. Just go slow on the first install and use the frame every time. Don't freehand it just because you've got backups sitting in the box. Next, at 20, the BENKS GlassWarrior AR Screen Protector. I have to flag this one directly before you scroll past it. The listing is built and sold for the Galaxy Z Fold 7, not the Fold 8 Ultra. Different cover display, different cutout geometry around the camera, and on a folding phone that's not a cosmetic mismatch. It's the difference between a protector that seats flush and one that lifts at a corner the first time you close the phone. If you buy this expecting a Fold 8 Ultra fit, you're buying the wrong generation, and you will feel it at the edges. Skip it until BENKS ships a confirmed 8 Ultra version with its own listing. Here's the pattern interrupt, because it matters for everything after this point. About a third of this list isn't actually engineered around the Fold 8 Ultra at all. Some of it's generic, some of it's built for last year's phone. On a brand new chassis like this one, generic doesn't always mean bad. A lot of chargers and cables genuinely don't care what phone is on the other end. But it does mean you can't assume Samsung compatible equals Fold 8 Ultra optimized. I'm not cutting any of it because you sent me these links to rank, but I'm going to tell you exactly which is which as we go, so you're not guessing at checkout. At 19, we jump into Spigen's new hinge tech with the Tough Armor Pro MagFit. Spigen built this one exclusively for the Fold 8 Ultra, with an integrated hinge guard that mechanically connects the front and back panels so they never loosen over time, dual-layer PC and TPU construction, and their air cushion drop tech at the corners. It's Qi 2 wireless charging compatible right through the case, no removal needed. The catch is bulk and lip clearance. A case built this rugged usually runs an inner lip aggressive enough to fight with edge-to-edge glass protectors, so if you're already running premium tempered glass, test the fit before you commit to both at once, because the return window on glass protectors closes a lot faster than the one on the case itself. Best pick here if you drop your phone weekly and don't care about slimness. Worst pick if a clean, thin profile is what drew you to a folding phone in the first place. At 18, the
Spigen Ultra Hybrid Pro MagFit, the clear version of that same hinge platform. It's Qi 2 certified with magnet Spigen rates at 12.5 newtons of holding force, which is a real, published number worth comparing against anything on this list without a spec sheet behind it. Most of the magnetic accessories further down this countdown can't say the same. The finish is a crystal clear PC back rather than a tinted one, so you actually see the phone's color instead of a milky overlay. The catch is the same one every clear case eventually faces. No anti-yellowing additive is claimed for this exact SKU, so treat it like any other clear TPU and PC build headed for a slow tint over months of sun exposure. Best for buyers who want the MagFit ecosystem without hiding the phone underneath a color they didn't choose. At 17, the Spigen ArcStation car charger. This one isn't fold-specific at all. It's a universal vent or clamp charger that works with whatever case you land on further down this list. No compatibility claims to make here beyond it charges your phone in the car, and that's genuinely fine for what it is. A functional fill-in, not a hero pick, and priced like one. At 16, the BENKS ArmorGrid Magnetic Accessory. This one surfaced under a Fold 8 Ultra MagSafe accessories search, but BENKS hasn't published enough public detail for me to independently confirm magnet strength or run an anti-slip test against it. That matters more here than it would on a flat phone accessory, because a folding phone's magnet array has to hold through the extra torque of a hinge opening and closing, not just a straight pull-off. Treat the compatibility and grip claims as the seller's until a third party measures them. If magnetic holding force actually matters to your setup, like a car mount you trust with your phone at highway speed, wait for a verified number before buying. At 15, the ANPULES wireless charging car mount. Like the ArcStation, this is a universal auto-clamping mount, not built around the Fold 8 Ultra's folded dimensions specifically. It'll clamp any phone in a reasonable size range and charge it wirelessly once seated. Fine for the car, just don't expect a tailored fit around your case's camera bump. Some thicker cases won't seat flush in a generic clamp. At 14, the Belkin wireless charging station, listed for Samsung devices generally. It's a general-purpose Qi charging stand rather than a Fold 8 Ultra-specific product, so I can't confirm precise magnetic alignment with this phone's actual magnet array the way I can with the Spigen MagFit cases. Functional as a nightstand charger, just don't assume it's optimized for this device's weight distribution when it's sitting folded open on the stand overnight. Now here's where the list actually turns a corner. Everything from here forward ties back to the device by name again, not just a generic search result. At 13, the TORRAS Q3 VegSkin leather case, confirmed and sold specifically for the Fold 8 Ultra on TORRAS's own site. It's built from organic silicone leather with a nano, stain-resistant coating that's meant to shrug off coffee and finger oil without cracking or peeling, a 360-degree spinning magnetic stand on a sandblasted aluminum base, and magnetic charging fit. Reviewers note it ships with 2 glass screen protectors already in the box, which is a nice hedge against the exact install risk problem we flagged 2 pics ago. The catch: leather-textured cases add the most bulk of anything on this list, and that spinning stand hardware is one more moving part sitting right next to your hinge that needs to stay clean and grit-free. Sand or lint working into a rotating mechanism next to a folding hinge is worth thinking about before you toss this in a bag. Best pick for anyone who wants a desk stand case for video calls and doesn't mind the extra weight and thickness that comes with it. At 12, the Belkin 30-inch retractable charging cable. Totally universal, works with any USB-C device including the Fold 8 Ultra. Worth knowing before you order, retractable cables run thinner conductors than braided cables, so if you end up pairing this with a case that has a recessed port cutout, a thicker aftermarket cable might not seat as easily as this thinner retractable one does. At 11, the Voppton wireless charger built for Samsung foldables. Another general Qi charging pad rather than device-specific engineering, so treat any foldable optimized language on the listing as filling the bull
Marketing rather than a verified, tested spec. At 10, the SwanScout wireless charger. Same category, same caveat. A generic charging pad that will power the Fold 8 Ultra the way it powers most Qi phones, with nothing specifically tailored to the hinge geometry or this device's magnet layout. At 9, another generic Samsung-compatible wireless charger rounds out the mid-pack. Functional, unremarkable, does the one job it's built to do without any fold-specific claims attached to it. At 8, a Samsung-compatible wall adapter. If you're chasing the Fold 8 Ultra's fastest wired charging speed, check the exact wattage rating on the listing yourself before buying. Samsung hasn't published third-party adapter certifications for this device yet, so don't assume a generic fast charging label means it hits the phone's actual ceiling. At 7, the Tainada Universal Smartphone Kickstand attachment. It clips onto any phone or case, Fold 8 Ultra included, but because it's built universal, it wasn't designed around the fold's uneven closed thickness,
So test how flat it actually sits before relying on it at a sharp viewing angle on a desk. At 6, the CHIPOFY 300-watt USB car charger. Multiple ports, high total output, completely device agnostic. Good if you're charging more than one gadget on a road trip, irrelevant to anything hinge or case related, and not trying to be more than a fast, reliable power source. At 5, the KickBack Universal Phone Stand Attachment. Same story as the Tainada pick. Grips any phone, not engineered around this device's folded profile specifically, but a genuinely fine, cheap add-on for propping the phone up at a desk when you don't want to buy a dedicated case with a built-in stand. We're closing in on the top 3 now, and this is the second pattern interrupt worth pausing on. The closer we get to number 1, the more this list swings back to actual device-confirmed products, except for one big exception waiting at the very top, and I'm not going to hide it from you when we get there. At 4, a Samsung-branded charger sold under the Galaxy Essentials accessory line. It's a safe bet for basic wired charging, since it carries the Samsung name, though I'd still confirm the wattage rating against the Fold 8 Ultra's actual charging ceiling yourself before assuming it hits max speed out of the box. At 3, the Hoerrye Inner Screen Protector, built specifically to address the Fold's most crease-prone surface. Inner screen protectors live or die on how well they handle repeated folding without bubbling right at the hinge line over hundreds of thousands of cycles. That crease is the single highest stress point on the entire device, flexing every time you open or close the phone. I don't have an independently measured fold cycle test for this exact listing, so treat the no bubbles claim on the packaging as the seller's until someone runs that test and publishes the number. At 2, the Orzero Inner Screen Protector. Same job, same category, marketed as bubble-free and anti-scratch for the inner display specifically. Same caveat applies here too. No third-party fold cycle data exists yet that I could independently verify, so this is a reasonable bet based on the spec sheet, not a confirmed long-term result you should treat as guaranteed. If you're choosing between this and the Hoerrye pick above it, you're really choosing on trust in the brand and the install kit, not on any documented durability edge either one has proven yet. And at number 1, the BERFY Case. Here's the honest problem, and I'm not going to soften it just because it landed at the top of your list. Every listing I could verify for this BERFY Case is built and sold specifically for the older Galaxy Z Fold 6, not the Fold 8 Ultra. That's not a small mismatch. A case built around a different generation's hinge width and camera housing can leave the hinge itself exposed on a newer phone, which defeats the entire point of buying a protective case in the first place. I'm ranking it exactly where you placed it, but I'm not going to tell you it fits a device it wasn't made for. If you're buying today, hold off on this one until BERFY actually confirms a Fold 8 Ultra version with its own listing. Don't let the brand name alone convince you it's a match for your new phone. So here's the recap by use case. If you want a screen protector-safe daily case with a real published magnet spec, the Spigen Ultra Hybrid Pro MagFit is your clearest, most documented pick on this whole list, and it's the one I'd point a first-time fold buyer toward. If you drop your phone constantly and want maximum hinge protection, the Tough Armor Pro MagFit was built exclusively for this device. Just budget for the bulk. If you want a desk stand leather case for calls, go TORRAS. And anywhere a link claims Fold 8 Ultra fit without real confirmation behind it, the BENKS GlassWarrior, the BERFY Case, verify the exact listing yourself before you buy, not after the return window closes. Links to everything, in the exact order we covered them, are right below.